Welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce you to this new series, Understanding Grappling. My name's Drew and this is my academy. I've owned and operated for the last 5 years. I've been grappling and teaching Jiu Jitsu for over 18 years non-stop. I feel it's my enjoyable duty as your professor to reveal to you what I've come to believe is true for any grappling situation. In this video, I have a conversation with Jimmy. He's a 4-stripe blue belt and the man behind the scenes that films and edits for our academy. This is a great conversation because it's a good primer and a beginning for what I'm going to be covering in this series. It's a quick general overview of some of the main topics that I'll be covering more in depth in the upcoming videos. If you enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. You can also get your hands on the graphs and the charts from this video by following the link in the description. Also, anytime you're in Houston, feel free to come by and do a drop-in or try a class if you live in the area. Enjoy the video.
Yes.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning here real quick. And your body can do 4 things. It can contract their muscles, you can displace in space, you can articulate your joints, and you can assume a posture. One more time, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking about doing this is you take 30 seconds of what I said,
Yeah.
and then you do some B-roll of some of the charts,
Yeah,
and then we'll put the camera right here, and I'll go like this, and I'll do dun dun dun.
Yeah. I like that.
Make sense?
I like it.
So maybe we can do a couple of them, but literally, I'm just gonna try it right now. Me and you are gonna try to understand this.
Okay.
I want you to understand what I'm putting down.
You understand it, but you're trying to
I understand it. I understand it clearly.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to lay it out, and I'm gonna put the pattern together for you. And there's gonna be a pattern start to show up. And I want to see if you start noticing the pattern. And then when you roll, you don't think about it, but your actions should be revolving around these patterns, because these are going to be what's most true in the background.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The person could be stronger than you, but in the background, you have a situation where you have them in a mix-up, and you have more than one basic option, and you are using all your modes of action. And the other person's only using one of them. They're just making a grip, but they're not framing or hanging or have any idea of what techniques. Everybody who just starts makes a grip,
Yeah.
and but they don't develop their grip. So each one of your modes of action you're going to develop. There's 4 things that you can do as a human being. You can contract your muscles, you can displace in space, you can articulate your joints, and you can assume a posture. In Jiu Jitsu, we're going to hone those modes of action into 4 different skills. You can frame, hang, make a grip, and do techniques. Those are the 4 things that you should be doing, and they line up with your basic modes of action. So contracting muscles, grips. You can write that. Displacing in space, hang. Articulate joints, technique. Those are the 4 basic modes of action that you can do. All right, and every mode of action revolves around something around this, around contracting your muscle and displace in space. And every tool that we have created, they use this, one of these. Like as a designer for a new invention, it has to function for human beings to consume or use or do something with, or otherwise it wouldn't exist.
It would have no use.
It would have no use, right? And now Jiu Jitsu is a really cool thing because you're going to go up against another person that has the same modes of action as you. They just have varying degrees of sensitivity and varying degrees of awarenesses of how to best use the ability to contract my muscles. Well, we're going to teach you how to make grips. And how do I move when I'm laying down or sitting? And this is where Jiu Jitsu really shines too. When you're laying down and sitting, it's very hard to move without swinging your body around the person and you have to make a grip to do that. And you have to frame to do that too. Assuming posture. From all the postures, you can make your posture some way that it's strong. And you can have a posture that's very fragile and weak. You could stand on one leg, and that's like a very weak posture. Or you could put one knee down and one knee up. Hey, that's a pretty strong frame.
Yeah.
Framework, you know? So that covers all four of them. Grips, hang, technique, and grips, that covers all of them. Grips, hang, technique, and frame.
Would you say that framing goes under articulating joints? Because
It is, I would say articulating joints is like the most articulate you can do. No, it's like doing this.
Yeah.
It's like doing this. You know, it's like doing a guillotine.
Yeah.
The techniques are specific patterns, doing a triangle position.
Yeah.
Right? A frame is a more general, it's like make your body strong. Do you know what I mean? And when you're laying down, you have to make your body strong, not relative to the ground, but relative to the person who's going on top of you. And guess what? That person's moving. So your frames are moving.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, these can be, you can make a point there, right? You can try to adjust these things and fix these categories. But I still believe that technique is more than just a frame. You know, and again, we're translating these skills for Jiu Jitsu. You don't necessarily need to think about framing every day in your life if you're not doing Jiu Jitsu. But maybe if you investigate it, I would say if you investigate it, you probably would use frames a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Like,
when you're picking up your baby. When you're interacting with other humans, you need to frame, you know? When you're playing football, any sport activity.
Laying up sheetrock.
Anything you play.
Anything physical,
Any work that you do, you're gonna frame the way you post your elbow on the table and write. Make a better frame. Make sense?
Yeah.
So these modes of action, specifically grips, hang, frame, and technique, they help you complete the basic options.
I should have moved this down here.
That's all right. The basic options are go behind, tip over, submit, and pass the legs. Here they are. Go behind, tip over, pass the legs, submit. These are the objectives. If you're trying to stand on the guy's head, you're misguided. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're not doing the right thing.
It's not going to take you into a position that gives you opportunities.
So you should always be seeking opportunities.
Well, what is the goal of Jiu Jitsu? What is the goal in grappling? Control the person, submit the person, right? To survive a bad situation.
That's my goal.
Right, well, that's where everybody starts with surviving, and then you start thriving.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, survive to thrive, I think, is a really good way to learn it, because that's how you build it up. I mean, that's just the normal progression. And hey, if you're going to get true understanding of Jiu Jitsu, and you didn't have to learn how to survive, well, you're probably not going to thrive very much, because you're missing things in the background. You know what I mean? Another local.
Chop up.
Come on in, man. Come on in.
Come to hang out. I'm bored.
Come on in. You're right on. What's up?
Cool. What y'all doing?
I'm just going over here with Jimmy.
Explaining.
These
modes of action.
This basic fundamental ground that's going on behind the scenes always, whether you're thinking about it or not. And when your specific moves fail that you want to do, this is what you can rely on that's going to be there. So like anytime you're in a scramble, you should be reacting towards these, and eventually you'll find your road back to where you're at. But we started here, Jimmy. We have the four basic, this is the modes of action. This is your body. And your body in a jiu-jitsu match, if you're thinking as jiu-jitsu as a game, the person that you're playing against, they have the same actions you can do. Mm-hmm. So it's your controller versus their controller.
Yeah.
All right? And you want to make sure you're using all the buttons, because if the other person's using all the buttons, they're going to have an advantage against somebody who's only using one button. And typically is what happens in self-defense when somebody is uninitiated to jiu-jitsu, they only use one of the buttons. They make a grip, but they have no idea about how to articulate their joints in a way to submit or go behind or tip over. Techniques are built on your basic options for jiu-jitsu, right? They do not know how to make a frame. Again, anybody can grip and anybody can frame, and maybe they're framing, but they're not making a grip. You know, maybe they're hanging, but they're not moving in any direction that has any purpose. All right, this framework helps give grappler purpose, right? So knowing does that make clear why it'd be important to understand the basic options?
Absolutely.
Right. So with the basic options, then you can put yourself into the stages of grappling. All right? Because I want to get back to what you were talking about about getting under. All right?
I'm going to probably rewrite this.
No, that's good. Okay, now the stages of grappling. How does the stages of grappling fit in to our modes of action and our basic options? It's not, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, this is perfect.
So depending on what stage you are in and what stage your opponent's in will determine what modes of action you would take.
Potentially, what I think the stages of grappling does is it helps you make decisions better because certain options are non-existent. Does that make sense? Right? If you are in a mix-up, you don't have the option to pass the legs anymore. You need to know that you're in a mix-up, because if you're in a mix-up and I let you walk and try to pass my legs while I have you in the boulder grip and you try to pass my legs, you're going to give your opponent a free basic option, a free tip over, a free go behind, or a free submission. Yeah. So these are not things you're going to be thinking about in the match, but when you're in each one of these stages, some of your options are limited.
Yeah.
Neutral, we shake hands and we start. Every match starts neutral. Mm-hmm. When you're in a neutral position, all your basic options are open. Yeah. All your basic options are open, but they're very hard to do because the other person can see it coming from farther away. You have no advantage against if the person doesn't know jiu-jitsu. Neutral is a great place to be. Self-defense doesn't matter because you know how to use your modes of action. Not just you know the techniques, but this is what we do in a jiu-jitsu class is you train your perception of these. You develop your grips, you develop your techniques, you develop your frame. And when you have a developed frame, it doesn't matter if you're in neutral or advantage, they might have a grip on you, but they don't have an advantage because you know the techniques. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It does matter a white belt versus blue belt, a white belt versus purple belt, a white belt versus black belt. Well, white belt versus white belt or a blue belt versus blue belt is different than a blue belt versus a black belt or a blue belt versus a purple belt. Their experience level is also going to have a factor of are you in an advantage or are you not? Because sometimes you know that the person has an advantage on you, but it's not really an advantage technically, right? You have the same grips. Let's say we have the same grips, but I have an advantage because I have more experience in this position. I can walk further out on the tightrope than you.
Yeah.
Right? So there's so many ways there's so many ways that this all connects together. And the goal for this, for me, is not to have it some clear thing that everything connects. The goal is to make sure we're not missing anything that's hidden.
Yeah.
That's super obvious. And usually, if you find something that's super obvious, that's hidden to most people,
That's cool.
that's a gold, that's a gem. And Jiu Jitsu is all about obvious things that is hidden to most people. Laying on your back and sitting down while the other person is standing up, you have a huge advantage if you've been initiated to the environment. You have 4 limbs, you have all your modes of action.
Yeah.
You know? You have 3 basic options when you're on bottom. You want to make sure you don't let them pass your legs.
Yeah.
But you can tip over, go behind, or submit. You can also just wait until this thing happens. One of those options show up, right? So the stages of grappling can help you a lot.
Yeah. Or knowing your stage, what stage you are in.
Responding and knowing that this exists, knowing that you're trying to get to a mix-up, and it'll be a lot easier than just trying to do the move from neutral against somebody who's the same level as you and stronger. Somebody who's the same level and stronger than you. Trying to do your basic options at neutral might not be a good strategy.
Yeah.
It might be a good strategy if it surprises them, but for the most part, it won't, right? But if you get a little bit better, upgraded, better grip, and you end up getting under the person, you end up getting one of these mix-up angles. Boulder grip, high guard, hip on the outside knee, overhook. And get under.
Mix up angles.
Like, here's just an example of your boulder grip, right? Boulder grip. Just put a couple examples.
Boulder grip.
Underneath.
Just get under them.
Get under. That's where get under fits.
Get under. I like that one.
Hip on the outside knee.
Outside knee.
Overhook. Overhook is what we worked for 2 weeks from the guard. You could be closed guard, could be open guard.
Butterfly.
Can you do it when the person's standing overhook? Yeah, if you get it, an overhook, and the person stands, you're kind of hanging there, and it's an easy transition to another mix-up, get under. You'll swing underneath of him like that, right? So these are just a few examples, and I think there is a lot of room for our guys and for you to find the mix-up angles. Some new ones.
So it's like
These
our
are
challenge.
general space. Well, I mean, this is channels to anybody, yeah. The challenge is to anybody to, like, look at this chart and rearrange it and explain it to me how it makes sense. Like, come to an understanding that something is off place here. All right? I would love to discuss it, and because I've gone over it a lot. But if it's always good to have a second pair of eyes. But this, I know for sure there's more here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's different angles, and it's just how detailed can you be. I'm trying to keep super general and, like, basic. And this is why I have a chart right here. This is the basic bread and butter, all right? This is what you should know, because the other person has a good chance of knowing this, even if they don't know, right? Most people who are good including myself, I didn't know why I was good. I didn't know I was using my grips. I didn't know I was hanging and swinging. But for sure, when I was blue belt, I was penduluming around. I was collar dragging. I was climbing the high guard. And I was doing hip bump sweeps. And I was doing overhook traps, attacking that arm lock.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what you just described is how I feel right now. Like sometimes I can't explain it, but I'm
Right.
doing it. And maybe
This
use
is,
something
well,
just you
look, no,
observed.
and so I'm not expecting people to understand this is what's going on, but I'm telling you, if I point this out to you, you will do this faster. You have a better chance of hitting it. What happens is you end up on your own and you just end up frustrated and beat down, and like jiu-jitsu is super hard and it's a huge learning curve. And people get frustrated. If you don't get frustrated in jiu-jitsu, you're gonna get frustrated when you do jiu-jitsu. You're gonna get beat up. You're gonna have a good chance to get injured until you have been initiated into it and you know what's safe and what's not.
Yeah. Lately, I wouldn't say I'm frustrated, but I feel like I'm not really improving. But that's at my own accord.
Sure.
That's not like
yeah,
blaming it on
and
other
you don't
people.
even know if that's true. You don't even know if that's true, because especially when you're in a room where everybody's learning the same framework.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You seem
And there's
to-
always, I
Yeah.
mean, in learning, there's always plateaus. You don't just learn.
not
Some
linear.
people say they're in a plateau when they're actually learning. It's because they just learn. Some people like to learn.
Yeah.
All right. Some people don't like to learn, right? And you could be learning or not learning and still think you're in a plateau. It's about understanding, is it making more sense mentally and physically? The physical part happens first because you're out there doing it.
Yeah.
The mental side comes after the fact, or has shown to you as a framework, and then you go back and try to develop depth of knowledge into that. Right? This is going to help point you to go, why am I not doing what I want to do? Well, let me do the checklist. Am I making a grip? And then am I making a grip? Am I framing? Am I hanging? Okay, I'm doing all that.
Yeah.
I'm framing, I'm hanging, I'm doing the technique, and I'm making a grip. All right? Then you watch yourself roll and you go, oh, I didn't do that technique clean. My execution on the technique wasn't good enough when somebody's going strong. Oh, I tried to do this move against this guy that was 50 pounds heavier than me and had more muscle than me, and my technique fell apart when I threw it up.
So that means that I didn't use the right technique at the right time.
Possibly.
On the wrong
Or
person.
it could mean I need practice on that technique. Like, I think you can whittle a technique down to where it doesn't matter if the person's bigger or stronger.
Yeah, that's like at a higher level.
Well, like people who get good at triangles, you got to get really good, because if you don't do it right, you're going to get stacked.
The
And you can't get
stakes are higher.
stacked
Yeah.
a lot. So next thing you know, you get really sharp at them, and it comes on really quick, and you do it without getting injured.
Yeah.
Right? But that, I think, takes a long time, and the learning curve is dangerous because you can get punished if you miss it.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how you can like see if you're improving or not. This also is a group of a pattern of the environment that you can check yourself and see if it works. Does this always happen when we film, Jimmy?
Yeah. I kind of want to get B-roll of that.
Get him, go get him. Don't let him see you. And then walk over here. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
does that make sense? So all those things going together.
Yeah. Just check it. Like, constantly having the mental checklist. Like, hey, am I doing this? Am I doing this and this?
No, but look, not when you're rolling.
Yeah, because there's so much data.
Maybe you notice one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you notice when you're rolling
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have a grip.
Yeah.
I don't even have a grip. I'm trying to do this move and I don't have a grip. Or the grip is, my hands hurt. I've been gripping too damn hard.
I felt that when I was a white belt.
That happens for everybody in the beginning.
Yeah.
Everybody makes
I don't
a
have that
grip
problem.
usually. People love to contract their muscles. But really, jiu-jitsu is not all about contract. A grip is, if you think about it, might be a small part actually. But what I want to lay out to everybody, and I want what everybody is to start to familiarize themselves with these charts so they can help me do it too, to help build out these fundamental environmental effects that if you are not aware of and if they're invisible to you, you will be chronically manipulated by them. You will never figure it out if you don't use your whole body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how are you supposed to notice, like this is another question, and maybe we can find answers to this. How do you spot something that's hard to spot? How do you spot something that's hard to spot? I think self-awareness comes huge in jiu-jitsu. How do you notice something that's hard to notice, that's obvious? How do you do that? How do grapplers figure it out?
Or how does anyone figure it out?
How does anybody figure it out? Well, it's either like, I think this is where professors are still super valuable in today's time because you need somebody to hold your hand through the fire. All right? If you just get thrown into the wolves, not many people figure it out.
Some.
I think people do, you know? I think I would consider myself one of the people who was thrown into the mix. Chapa figured it out too. He was thrown in, you trained at some of the places where we started at that time, it's just not, it wasn't as, not everybody, first off, I think there's more people who are good at jiu-jitsu. So the patterns stick out more. It makes sense? No.
Yeah.
Yes. Right? There's more people who have gotten better at it. So, but it hasn't gotten better. And there's more technique videos out. But it's still, the environment still somehow stays invisible. How come you can't just buy the DVDs and then you're good? Because the environment's still invisible to you. You're trying to do the techniques without framing, without being able to frame and hang and do some basic techniques and use your grips. Mm-hmm. That's where it falls apart. I think the videos are really good to show you what's possible, you know, but they're not, but why, my question is, why is it not helping? Why isn't everybody as good as Gordon Ryan?
You still have to put in the time.
Gordon Ryan is good because he's developed his controller, his receptors, his hands and feet feel, and he can make predictions on you from just the basic options. Mm-hmm. It would be interesting to ask high-level grapplers.
This is something.
As you develop into a high-level grappler, you tell me if there's another basic option. I think this is what makes this. I think this is why these specific things that I'm pointing out are super important and actually extremely high level and something that will be a standard in jiu-jitsu. And I think commentators don't point this out enough. I think professors don't point this out enough. I think we're teaching too much technique and not enough of this, and we're seeing a good effect in the kids' class.
Yeah, for sure.
You let them figure it out, you know, and maybe learning how to. So I think in the gym, you're trying to train your perceptions of this. You're trying to train your grips, the way you grab them and the control of them. And, you know, like, can you reach and grab it? Look, can I reach and grab the grip? Or do I punch you in the face before I grab it? It's literally like operation too. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the fineness, like where to grab.
What, can you make a grip and they don't even know you have a grip?
That's hard.
This is where the analogy of a pickpocket comes into play, right? I like to say this analogy.
Yeah, it's kind of a negative one, but.
It could be, but what you want to do, or magic is the other one. People get offended by the magic definition too.
The sleight of hand, right?
The sleight of hand, it's not magic. He's not pulling a rabbit out of thin air. Do you know what I mean?
He's just doing things that you can't
You don't see the whole environment. A magician makes the environment invisible, and they wrap you up in another sense, and then they perform the trick, and they do a presentation to persuade you that they did something that is impossible. And when you roll with somebody who's good at jiu-jitsu and somebody who is obviously not as fast, strong, quick, young,
not as tuned in. Yeah.
it seems like magic, but it's not magic. I think all high-level grapplers would tell you it's not magic.
Yeah.
It is a full sense control of your body and another person, and it's being able to not get your senses overwhelmed. And we see this in the kids' class too, where a kid gets hot and fired up and upset, and they start reacting in their emotions. And what I do, I can spot it before it like really pops off. Then I change the partners.
Yeah.
Boom. But also, it's our duty now to say, hey, you cannot operate with your emotions. You need to operate with this, is what the environment. And you need to stop. You need to try not to bring something to this environment that's going to throw your senses off to what this is. The problem I'm seeing in the kids' class, we got to be careful, is we have to point out this other environment of emotion. I think we will get to that. I want to teach and I want to talk about that. I would love to discuss that, but I don't think it's as important as learning this. But for kids, it's like, I'm starting to think, man, we got to make sure to tell these kids, we got to make sure these kids learn how to use this stuff, not just how it works, but that you don't want to use it for bad, because a kid could learn this and not even know they learned it. And next thing you know, you got a little evil kid with a serious skill. You know, honestly, I feel like you are weaponizing a kid with this stuff.
You're weaponizing anyone.
But you're also building the ego up into a place that, this time, you know, it's just such an advantage because not many people are doing jiu-jitsu. Many people have this one-on-one comfort with another person. Let's say you get into an argument, you're going to be more calm because you know that at a basic fundamental environmental level, I'm going to handle myself. In the boardroom, at Kroger, in any situation, your brother's mad at you, you're going to be able, you have trained to deal with that environment. Kids the same. I think that's another topic for another time, but I think this still is a crucial role for them to learn and be able to make their decisions through this framework until the framework's invisible. Again, when you're rolling, you're not thinking about this stuff.
I do a little bit.
When you're drilling, you should. And yes, at the beginning, you're going to think about it. But when you think too much, what happens? Like the person jumps past your guard.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I need to upgrade this grip. Go. That's why it's important to roll with lower ranks.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to be good at dealing with somebody who is
not trained.
Too aggressive. It's really important to be good with a frame, because if you just wait it out and deal with the frame, you're gonna find some new. Well, I didn't know this move was so easy. This person got so overextended, but they were going so hard, and I just absorbed them with my frame and dropped them into the shotgun armbar. So this is the basic framework, and this is what we're going to do. The first two videos are going to be over the basic modes of action and then the basic options. The next video will go over the stages of grappling, and we'll talk a little bit about this basic bread and butter chart, and we'll show people how they can get their hands on the basic bread and butter chart.
you want me to add anything there or no?
What's that?
Do you want me to add like the?
No,
cage
you can.
guard?
No worries. That's just notes for you. What do you think? Does this do anything to make anything clear
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
The difference between a mix-up angle
Yeah. And for me.
and a
I need
basic
to learn-
option.
yeah,
What's the difference between a mix-up angle and a basic option?
A mix-up angle is more of like a technique where you have an advantage. It's a stage where you have an advantage on the person, where you should be aware of. And a basic option is like what you can physically do.
A mix-up angle is a place where there are more than one basic option.
Oh, okay. More than basic option. So my goal should be, this stuff should be autopilot. Get to the point where I drew like.
Well, if you want to play guitar on stage, do you want it on autopilot?
Yes.
If you're gonna be in a rock band and you're
That's
trying to,
like mastery. Right?
I mean, but it's not that. Like, look, it's blue belt. I think it's blue belt. It's definitely purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
Purple belt is to be able to do this without making it look like you're trying.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can tell if somebody's good.
Yeah. Like,
It's not always. You got a guy like Leandro Lowe. It looks like he's huffing and puffing.
that
But
could be
he's
part of his
not.
brand.
Yeah, but he's not. No, he's not tired. He's just showing his tired. And then you push into him. He's like, whoa. He's still responding normally. And it is a trick. It is a way to steal your wallet.
That's another like illusion.
100%. And if people don't notice that though, they think Leandro Lowe has sloppy style. He does it on purpose. You remember that guy, Gustavo? He was at the Hillcroft location.
Oh, yeah.
Ripped up young black guy. Strong. Spider guard. Boom. Your elbows are glued. I mean, it hurts when he plays spider guard. He would huff and puff and whine and cry, but he wouldn't give up. I'd be like, oh, I'm about to break him. I'm breaking him. But he's still going. I would only know this because I felt it in another person. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. My style, I mean, I didn't really even watch that much Jiu Jitsu when I was coming up, but doing it without trying is the ultimate ideal of Jiu Jitsu. The effortlessness of it. It's not It's not effortless.
Yeah,
You make it look effortless.
Yeah, it's the appearance.
Until next thing you know, you're like, it's like hitting a good golf shot where you feel the ball compress, or you hit a home run, you don't swing hard, but you see it in slow-mo and the ball compresses and it's like line it up. When you do that push-pull sweep this week, you line it up. And when you do it at the right time. You don't just put your feet instantly and just go, No, you load it up. Boom. And then when he falls, you take your leg off and you hang and swing with your grips light and relaxed and pull at the right time. Boom. And then you frame and duck into a knee slide. I mean, you're on. And you turn off your brain and you get back to your body, man. Your mind and body together, what happens in jiu-jitsu. Mind, body, soul as well in jiu-jitsu. Soul and emotion, ego is a big thing in jiu-jitsu, and people talk about it, but it hasn't been fully diagnosed yet. I think there's a lot of room in all this stuff, and this is what we're doing. I want to do it here, hanging out. This is why we have this setup like this.
Yeah, you want to dive
We
deeper?
can get into these things.
Let's dive. Let's do it.
But mind, body, and soul, I mean, you have to control your emotion. It's another sense that will throw you off.
Yeah, it can definitely cloud your judgment.
You know what I mean? We just spent an hour over here, Drew teaching me this stuff, and then I trained today, and it didn't work for the first guy, and I got pissed, and my whole day sucked.
Is that what like the soul portion?
That's the soul part of it. Do you know what I mean? Hey, you see another guy really struggling, and they're trying to learn, and Jimmy is having a hard day, and I'm a white belt. And I go roll with them after he just got done with Devin. and I get his back, and I feel his soul slipping. I feel his ego getting, do you know what I mean? Destroyed. That's where you don't want to take somebody's soul. In a tournament, you might be a soul hunter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that stuff is a little bit like people wearing around a shirt saying soul stealer and like all this tough guy stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a little bit counterintuitive to the normal average everyday grappler, man. Everyday grappler, you're trying to stay healthy so that you can do it to somebody on the street if you need to.
Perform when it's
You know,
necessary.
a competitor is too tired to fight after they've been training competition class. Not really. Not really. They're superhumans compared to the average person walking down the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been, after competition training, been in a situation where like, oh shoot, I might have to use my jiu-jitsu right here, fully ready to go.
That's
That, I
the
mean,
ideal.
because you're definitely already tuned in, and you're going to use the basic options are going to be clear as day. It's like going to be home run derby, because you just got done like really fine tuning it. So that's why training every day is one of the main things. Is like you have to use your body with another person to do this stuff. And that's what's cool about jiu-jitsu, is you're actually like doing something real, you know? And really these conversations that we're having, they don't need to be done on the mat. You need to be spending your time doing jiu-jitsu when you're on the mat. There's not that much time in the day. When you get on the mat, you got to get as much out of it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
but in all that is, if you're in a place you're in a community like this, all you got to do is show up. And you can show up if you're not feeling good or feeling good, and you're going to get something out of it. And this is what I tell people. You want to get good at jiu-jitsu? Come hang out. Come sit next to me. Come stand next to me when everybody's rolling. Come sit next to me, and I'll make sure I point it out the things that most people don't see. You know, I could point out. I could teach my top shelf techniques. I could teach everybody else's top shelf techniques. I could watch the DVDs and teach it. I've done that for people. If somebody wanted to learn the Gordon or the Gordon Ryan setup, or somebody wanted to, one of the guys wanted to learn the Danaher back take system. He gave me the DVD. He said, "Hey, learn it. Teach it to me." I said, "Wonderful. I'll do it for you." And it's a process to learn off a video and then come back in. It's not easy. I'm a black belt. I've been doing it for 18, 19 years. It's not easy. Doable, but it ain't easy. What's easy is to show up to the gym and be around a bunch of people who are also learning, and you fit in with them. It's hard to be in a place where everybody's trying to be the best and nobody's trying to
Help each other.
everybody's not trying to get better. They're just trying to like win that day. They're just trying to win that day. It's not even like competition gyms, everybody's trying to get better, and you end up developing like a really tight bond with somebody because like you are trying to kill them, but you can't really kill them because you won't have a training partner. So competition does build a lot of relationship.
Camaraderie.
But what doesn't build a relationship when you're just trying to win every day and the other person's trying to win every day, and next thing you know, the basic options and the modes of action and the stages of grappling and the fact that it's a two-player game go out the window, and you're just throwing moves out because you feel like it, because you've bullied your way all the way through the door, and you're online bullying your way through life in an online world, and then you come in here and or just in your daily life. I mean, those people don't fit in over here. You know what I mean? Or you get readjusted, reset. You know what I mean? Testosterone is a sense that will throw you off. Do you know what I mean? If you're an 18-year-old young man, we've seen that before. It's overcoming the person to not focus on what matters. You just get, boom, rushed up and wrapped up in that whole biology.
Yeah. That's another obstacle that they
Right,
have
and
to
now
face,
do
they
you
have
what
to
you
pass.
what is it your mind, body, or soul that fixes those problems? Like
of the above.
like you know what I mean? Like this jiu-jitsu is something super hard and it's very difficult to talk about, and not many people really do talk about it.
Well, maybe because not many people do it. If you look at compared to the overall population.
Yeah, I mean, but the niche there is still a nice big group that people that are doing it too. You know,
More
what I
than
mean?
ever.
Yeah, more than ever. Yeah.
Proportionally.
But
wise.
I just think you'll start to see more of this, and there will be more people doing this. All it takes is, I think, no, you just need more. Yeah, you just need more people trying to grow jiu-jitsu, not grow jiu-jitsu, more people interested in jiu-jitsu, called to be professors. You need people who are called to be a professor, not people who are called to be a millionaire. You know what I mean?
It's hard to
Unfortunately,
hard to convince
we're
people,
called.
though.
Well, that's where I think the Jiu Jitsu Academy comes into play. I think the kids that start here that are 4 years old and they learn Jiu Jitsu because this is where they grew up, and the people around them were doing Jiu Jitsu because that's what they were. That's what brought them to Jiu Jitsu too. Like for me, I started doing Jiu Jitsu because, for no specific particular reason, not because I was getting bullied, not because of anything. I just did it because it will look cool. My dad said, hey, you want to do something cool? I said, yeah, let's do it. Next thing you know, you find your calling, you know? If you have a mindset to do it to like just beat up the next person, or, you know, I mean, coming in for self-defense, I think, is a very popular, good one, because you're coming just to like make yourself better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what happens
It's a
is
noble
you learn
cause.
how to defend yourself, and you were never going to get in a fight anyway. And next thing you know, like,
You stuck around.
you get good because you're not trying to just beat people up. You got good because you're not just trying to like totally optimize yourself to your utmost physique and stuff. You know what I mean?
Is it wrong to try to optimize oneself though?
I don't think it. I think it's a totally different topic, but I think that's. I think it can be bad to just always be optimizing yourself. I think some things go invisible when you fully specialize into one thing, things become covered up. Other things get covered. I mean, that's everything though.
Yeah.
That's everything.
It's like the old saying,
Everything
right?
do.
Too much of anything is bad, right? But like we know, like not just martial arts in general, but jujitsu, a lot of
Sure.
a lot of the goodness of it bleeds over to other parts of your life.
So what's the fundamental ground of outside of jiu-jitsu? Like you said, you could be somebody who all they do is jiu-jitsu, but then you're just not around for your family.
Yeah, you have poor family interaction.
Or how about you don't take care of yourself and you're doing steroids and your heart rate's crazy and your blood pressure's nuts, but you're winning matches. Your testicles are the size of BBs.
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of and that's common, but it's also like hidden to most people that see a big ripped up steroided guy. They think that guy is a full optimum.
That's my hero. Like,
Yeah. They look like a hero, but like it's
At what
fake.
cost?
It's
Yeah.
fake. It's not a real hero.
That's not who you want to be.
I mean, it's yeah.
I mean, everyone has different perceptions of heroes and
No, absolutely.
some people they idolize, right?
Right.
Or idols.
No, but I think that was a good little breakdown
Sure.
of some of the things that I'm trying to get across. And it's not, this is something that has not been fully fleshed out. And this is this is the process of fleshing anything out that's new and that's important.
Yes,
You're not going to have the language for all this. I'm trying not to make up any language for it.
Yeah.
But you have to have a little bit of technical language,
Yeah.
all right? But so this is what I want everybody to try to get a handle of, and this is why we're gonna put out these videos so that people also have the similar experience like you just did.
Yeah.
Like, and when you're watching this video, you should be asking yourselves the same questions. Pause the video and ask yourself, how do I notice something that I don't notice?
Is that how you want to end it? How do you spot something that's hard to notice?
How do you spot something that's hard to notice? And when you realize, oh, you need somebody and you need to find a group of people who already notice it, you need to copy somebody
Or be around like
or be around people. That's why it's good about hanging out with people that are smart and funny and good people.
that have your best interests or shared interests.
Who do things for the sake of doing them, not just to optimize their score on all these different charts, right? All these status games. I don't want to play status games. I want to do jiu-jitsu and learn jiu-jitsu and grow a community. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do what brought me here was jiu-jitsu, you know? So
in another life, could you imagine what you would be doing?
I don't know.
There's
You
no
never know.
jiu-jitsu.
I think jiu-jitsu has had the biggest influence in my life, 100%. I have a twin brother. He's not the same as me. We have the same mannerisms and the same like movements, but we're dialed in two different ways. And to me, it's obvious. Maybe it's hard to articulate, but to me, it's obvious, you know? But I think this is a good place to stop and a good place to know stuff. What you want to do, what I think people should do when they watch this video is ask themselves, what are your modes of action? What are the basic options? What options could you have in a grappling match? What options could you have? What are the stages of grappling? Go through this and see if it makes sense to you. See if you can add something in here. And I will point out to how you can condense it so you don't have to make it so long and
Drawn out.
drawn
You
out.
mind if I get some B-roll of you like
For sure.
whooping out the